Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and we have a shocking report to talk about today because there's a new claim that Sony is considering a big-time acquisition. I mean, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar buyout if this actually happens, because it includes some of the most beloved IPs such as Batman, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, plus even more. Now, if you haven't already guessed, we're talking about Warner Brothers, though I don't think that this buyout is specifically because of gaming alone. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some pros for Sony's gaming sector, which we're going to talk about all of that, but I firmly believe that Sony's main interest comes from a completely different sector, so we're going to get into all of that and the type of competition that Sony might end up facing, because we could actually get into a bidding war if Warner Brothers is actually serious about selling off. Now, we also got the new Donkey Kong Bananza Direct, and just wow, I think the Switch 2 launch just got a whole lot more exciting. Really awesome stuff, so we're going to talk about that as well. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Xbox Game Pass. They recently revealed their next wave of games, which you can see here. It includes Rematch, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 Remastered, Call of Duty World War II, Little Nightmares 2, Volcano Princess, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Star Trucker, and Wild Frost. Now, they also just launched Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, Crash 4, and FBC Firebreak, though unfortunately that hasn't exactly been all that well received. So, right away, I'd highly recommend Little Nightmares 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Crash 4. If you haven't already played those games, all of which are pretty awesome, but I'd say the potential highlight this month is probably for Rematch. This will release tomorrow on June 19th, and it's a 5 versus 5 soccer game, football, depending on where you're located in the world, and it's developed by SlowCap. They're a fairly good studio that previously worked on Sifu and Absolver. I know a lot of people like those games. So the hope here is that they can make a new, fun, competitive sports game in the same vein as something like, let's say, Rocket League. I mean, we'll see what happens here, but that's really one of the perks of something like Game Pass. You'll be able to test it yourself tomorrow when it launches. Now, staying on the topic of Xbox, Mojang finally dropped a Minecraft graphical update. This is the vibrant visuals upgrade, which enhances its overall graphics. This will overhaul its lighting and shadows, which will give each biome more atmosphere than ever before. Now, this will only apply to Bedrock players, so for anybody who plays on Minecraft Java, you're still going to have to wait a little bit longer, but this is still a very welcome update, all things considered. Honestly, I believe this update should have probably happened a long time ago, because I mean, if you look at something like the Xbox Series as one such example, that's Microsoft's first-party console. And here it is, 5 years into its life cycle, and their biggest game just finally got optimized for the Xbox Series. I mean, that's really kind of crazy when you start to think about it, but Minecraft is still obviously a huge IP, arguably a top 3 IP in the industry right now, so I'm sure a lot of fans will really enjoy this long-awaited graphical upgrade. Okay, so let's go and talk about PlayStation. There's a few different things happening here with them, so we'll first start off with a new Greek God of War game. Now, this has been in the rumor mill for quite some time. It's believed to be a 2.5D Metroidvania, which personally, I think actually sounds really cool. I think that could make for a great combination if they can actually execute it properly, which, that part remains to be seen. And I also just like this idea because it's a style of game that Sony isn't really known for, and it would kind of fix one of my biggest complaints that I have with Sony this generation. I firmly believe that they need to develop more AA style of games. I want to see them take more chances, and this could fit into that criteria. However, after it didn't get announced at their recent State of Play, that was kind of the rumor at the time, a lot of people then just kind of assumed that this rumor simply wasn't true at all. Well, Jeff Grubb just claimed otherwise. He's now claiming that it's been pushed into 2026, just as Marathon was recently delayed as well. So, I mean, there is still some hope that this game could exist, and like I said, I mean, I really hope this one turns out to be true. I like God of War. I like Metroidvanias. I want to see Sony take more chances in this really does all of those things. So if anything else, both Tom Henderson and Jeff Grubb, which both have pretty good reputations, they have heard about this game. So if you believe either one of them, then this could end up being a reality in 2026. Now, as for the Sony Warner Brothers acquisition, this has been going around all day long. Fans are absolutely freaking out about this because obviously it includes some of the biggest franchises in all of media, not just for gaming, but really for the entire entertainment business. I mean, we're talking about franchises like the DC Universe, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and also Game of Thrones. So this could potentially have some huge ramifications if it actually happens. Now, there is that if part to it, but either way, this originated from SE Scoops, where it was reported that sources have told them that Sony is considering a purchase of the newly announced WBD streaming and studios company, which is expected to complete its separation from WBD Global Networks by mid-2026. Sony is interested in acquiring WBD's HBO Max streaming service, IPs, and its gaming assets. So it kind of sounds like that separation is making their new division into a much more desirable buyout target. And that is important to keep in mind here. Not only have we not heard anything from Warner Brothers themselves that indicates that they're interested in selling, but because this is so early on, it also wouldn't be shocking if other buyers enter the fray if Warner Brothers is actually interested in doing something like this. Even though Sony is interested in their gaming assets, and I do think that they are a good fit, I'll come back to that in a moment, but one of the most enticing parts of this buyout is for HBO Max and the franchises that makes it desirable. HBO Max currently has the fourth most subscribers of any streaming service with more than 100 million subs. Now, it's still behind Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney+, but for any company that wants a large or even a larger streaming service than what they already have, with a lot of first-party franchises included, this alone could draw in a lot of potential buyers. So realistically, there could be some big companies that could get involved with a Warner Brothers buyout if they truly do decide to go in that direction. I mean, we're talking about companies like Apple, Amazon, and NBC, all of which might want to add to their own streaming services. Now, however, like I said before, Sony does make a lot of sense in this case, not only from a gaming perspective, but they also own their own movie division as well, but they still lack a streaming service for those movies. So marrying the three together, PlayStation games, their Sony movies, and HBO Max, does make logical sense for Sony, which is why I imagine they are possibly interested in this case. Now, interest doesn't necessarily mean that they will absolutely buy it. Don't take this report in that way, but I could definitely see them considering it at the very least, just as I imagine other companies are doing the same thing. Now, in terms of gaming, the first thing that really kind of comes to my mind here is regulation. You know, just because regulators really targeted Microsoft in the Activision Blizzard buyout, I'd be very curious to see how they would manage something like this. I mean, in all fairness here, if they're going to take Microsoft to court and force their hand to keep their franchises multi-platform, I mean, I would imagine a similar thing would need to happen in a case like this, given Sony's dominating performance in the console market, much more dominating than Xbox ever has been. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Are you for a buyout like this? Do you like this idea for Sony, or are you against it? And give me your reason why in the comments below. Now, one last thing before we go. We do need to talk about Donkey Kong Bananza, because this game looks absolutely bananas. I mean, it is far better than what I initially realized it was. I mean, I was already sold when they first revealed this game, in part because, I mean, you know, it's a new Donkey Kong game. This is something that I've wanted for a very long time. But at the time, I wasn't necessarily blown away by what they had shown. It basically looked like a traditional 3D platformer with some destruction thrown into it. And just to be honest, the destruction aspect of this game actually brings me more hesitance than it does excitement. Now, that's just my opinion, but now that we've seen a deeper dive into it, I mean, I am 100% on board for this game. Dare I say that it now actually looks like a potential Game of the Year contender. That's how good it looked in today's Nintendo Direct, because this game is so much bigger than what they originally let on. I mean, that destructive element is still a big part of this game, but they also have all this other stuff that puts it over the top. It now looks like one of the most unique and potentially one of the best 3D platformers that we have seen in a very, very long time. You can unlock new abilities. There's character customization. Donkey Kong has various power-ups, like a flying ostrich as one such example. They have a ton of returning characters like Diddy Kong, Dixie, Cranky, and even Rambi the Rhino. They also have some nice throwbacks that I really appreciated. There's returning music from past Donkey Kong games, which Donkey Kong's music has always gone down as some of the best in gaming history. It's a big part of this series. It's really tied together with the experience, and to hear some of those returning songs, including the DK rap, is a really nice nod to their past, as is things like Bramble's 2D background from the Donkey Kong Country series, and even the infamous minecart sections. So, returning Donkey Kong fans, I'd say, are going to have a lot of nostalgic moments in Bananza. The big reveal, though, here seems to be that a young Paulina will be your sidekick. I actually don't know why they hid this before, but it was pretty cool to see her in today's Direct. And now, I've seen people question this because it doesn't exactly fit into the Donkey Kong timeline unless there's some kind of time travel element, but honestly, I really don't care. I just want it to be a fun game, and it definitely looks like it's going to be a chaotic, fun blast. I think my only problem now is that we have to wait a month before we can actually play it, and I say that because I don't really understand why this wasn't a launch title. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mario Kart World is still a great game. I've enjoyed it a lot, but at the end of the day, it's still Mario Kart. It's not that much different. We already have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch 1, and that has like 90 plus tracks. Whereas Donkey Kong Bonanza is a truly new original idea, and that's kind of what I want right now on the Switch 2. I want a new experience. Now, that's just my opinion, but yeah, this game looks absolutely amazing, and truthfully, I really cannot wait to play it myself. Anyways, though, that's going to be this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.